That's why I rock with him.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
That's why I rock with JV, man.
JV.
We are never wrong. We're just early. And that's why you tune into the show. JJ McCarthy is such the real deal. He is so the real deal. I would just run around my basement. I'm sweating. I couldn't control myself. I'm not even a Vikings fan, but Skol tonight. The amount of people that hated on this guy, and they called me. Deshaun called me at halftime after the pick six, clowning me. Miles and Nee, they're in the group chat. Oh, he's ass. Oh, he stinks like shit. Oh, it's just getting worse. Yeah, I don't think so. That's 3 touchdowns. That's a W. Big night for JJ McCarthy. You're back on the JV show. It's JV, my new special guest. We got Steven from Some Casual Takes. We've been working on it for a while. Happy to have him on as a rotating guest during the season. Steven, how you doing, brother?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you having me on. What an intro, and what a game to have your boy on for the first time on the JV show. I get to witness JJ McCarthy just completely flip the script and essentially his rookie season, first game ever, and outduel my guy. I'm not a Bears fan, but I'm the leader of Caleb FC. Kind of look like him. I was rooting for Twin to get off on the right track. First year, Ben Johnson, let's go. Put the rookie season in the past. And we started 10 for 10. That first drive, you want to talk about running in the basement. I'm here in my apartment. Actually, I was at the gym when it went down. Because after my work schedule, I go to the gym at like 6 or 7 p.m. I'm running around the gym, dropping my weight, saying, Caleb is here. He has arrived. And then they proceed to go after the opening touchdown. Punt, downs, punt. Just a punt, downs, punt. Field goal, punt, missed field goal, punt. Terrible.
You know what? We will get to Caleb Williams because honestly, I'm not here to rip him. I'm a big Caleb Williams guy too. I think Ben Johnson will do wonders for him, and we saw that in flashes today. But the one thing I loved about tonight was just watching things unfold. I was patient. I'm not usually a patient sports fan, but I was watching. I'm like, Vikings going to win it. I just posted on my story. I have the proof. Vikings winning this game after the JJ pick six. Before we get in, I just want to say Big Third Down Shop is sponsoring me this year. They got me with hats all year long, so go check them out. They just launched, I believe, this Sunday, so you'll see a rotation of hats on the show as the season progresses. But let's get into JJ McCarthy tonight. Started off the night real bad. He was seeing ghosts in the first half, threw a really bad pick six. It all seemed like it was falling apart, but I am here to tell you JJ McCarthy is really like that. The praise better be as loud as the hate, because after he threw that pick six, I know way too many people in the comments on social media calling me, telling me he stunk. After the pick six, multiple passing touchdowns, jet us over the middle, Aaron Jones 50-yard bomb, rushes one in himself. That is character. JJ McCarthy, he's got confidence. He's got belief, self-confidence. He's got grit. I love it. That's a national champion right there, if I've ever seen one. There is no rookie quarterback that I've seen throw a pick six like that, go to such a low point in the game, and revive midway through the game and make a name for himself in his rookie debut. I get he's a second-year quarterback, injured all last year. This was his rookie game in Chicago at Soldier Field. Tough environment to play against a good defense, against a team that's gotten so much hype, and he went in there and stole the show after his pick six. If that was me, Steven, I'm running out the stadium after I throw that pick six. That's embarrassing. That's a hard thing to do, to come back on the field with confidence. But Kevin O'Connell puts on a masterclass with J.J. McCarthy. They get the run game going. That's all he needed. He just needed the ball to move a little, get a little bit of confidence. O-line picked up in the second half because, man, were they trash early on against that Chicago pass rush. And then the lights turned on, and Chicago just didn't have an answer. We'll get into Chicago, but first, your thoughts on J.J. McCarthy.
Well, you want to talk about running out the stadium after the pick six. Remember the following drive for Minnesota, the guy couldn't get the snap off. He just looked completely overwhelmed. I was about to text my friends in the group chat, like, He just needs to sim the next game. I'm not going to trash on him too much because people forget. I mean, he tore his ACL last year. It's essentially his first game in the NFL. He's a rookie. And I'm telling you, it was like the worst first half of a debut I've ever seen. And after he threw that pick six, I'm going to spare the foul language, but every group chat I was in was like, all right, this guy's – all right, like what's going on?
Yeah.
Then that second drive, he can't get the snap off. He's not getting protection. But JV, like you said, first of all, you got to credit Kevin O'Connell for sticking with his quarterback. I mean, they call him the quarterback whisperer for a reason. I mean, this guy had Nick Mullins and Dobbs throwing for 300 yards. The guy knows quarterbacks. And he could tell that I'm the same age as J.J. McCarthy. If I was in that environment, I don't know, I might have curled up in a ball. And O'Connell never quit on him. And J.J., like you said, national champion. The guy never quit. Did you notice when Chicago missed that field goal, J.J.'s on the sideline clapping. J.J. looked like he had some juice. I'm in my group chat saying, oh, J.J. has life. They're down 11. They missed the field goal. He looks brutal, but he looked pumped. The sideline looked amped. And as soon as they scored that first touchdown, that ball that over the middle to Jettas with the strike, you could feel that all the momentum completely flipped. I've never seen a game flip like that ever. Ever.
Not with a rookie quarterback. Not in his first debut. And when he launched that ball down the sideline to Aaron Jones, in my mind, I'm just picturing that preseason game against the Raiders last year. I see that ball going deep, his first ever NFL touchdown. I'm like, oh, it's happening. JJ's here. And honestly, Steven, I don't even think JJ's all that. I don't think he's all that talented. I don't think he's got this incredible arm. But for some reason, people painted him out to be the 33rd worst quarterback in the NFL. Like he shouldn't even be starting. And that's why I'm so amped up. I'm a big believer, and I root for guys that are climbing from behind all the criticism. Your Brock Purdy's, your Caleb Williams, your J.J. McCarthy. I love it because I feel like I can relate to that in my life. I feel like a lot of people can relate to climbing up from adversity, overcoming obstacles. And that's something JJ is doing, and he's doing it right in front of our eyes. And another guy, too, that I'm super high on, and I thought he had a pretty fantastic night, all things considered, was Caleb Williams. Now, of course, there were some lowlights. It wasn't the best performance in the second half, but I do believe Ben Johnson is bringing out the best in Caleb Williams. And we just saw a glimpse of that tonight. We just got a taste. First drive, opening drive, he goes 10 for 10, unreal, puts a great touchdown on the board. We're thinking they're cleaning house. Obviously, the offense couldn't click. 3 points after that, I think, offensively until that final drive from the Bears, not including that Hail Mary attempt or whatever that was. But I thought Caleb Williams, for the majority, looked a lot better. He is a little bit frantic when he runs around. He concerns me a lot in that aspect of his game. But you want to talk about arm talent, you want to talk about making things happen when there's no options to go to, Caleb Williams is the guy. And with Ben Johnson, I think the play calling will just get better. They'll get in a routine. It's tough when you take so many penalties in your first game as a head coach to recover from that. But they looked really good, all things considered.
Yeah, so as the biggest Caleb Williams fan, you talk about getting a taste. I thought that first taste was about as sweet as a taste you can get. And then most of that cake was pretty moldy. I'd say Caleb Williams looked better than he did last year, but the thing with Caleb is you can still tell he's really raw. And this is coming from the biggest Caleb Williams fan. But from that time they scored that first touchdown to essentially he missed DJ Moore on his 11th pass, which was his first incompletion, to basically when they scored that final touchdown, I thought Caleb was atrocious. If I'm trying to put it nicely, I thought he missed too many easy throws that he was missing last year. Throws deep, throws across the middle, intermediate, short layups. I saw someone on Twitter say those are throws that Jared Goff would make under Ben Johnson. There's still accuracy issues there. There's still arm strength, deep ball issues there. But as far as sack avoidance, that's a positive. I thought he looked really good for the most part, avoiding sacks. He had 2 sacks in this game, but one of them was all on his offensive line, and the other one, he pretty much stepped out of bounds. They didn't take him to the ground. He looked really good avoiding sacks. It's still, the thing is, though, is the accuracy. Can he just carve you down the field, drive after drive? And I'm still waiting on that from Caleb Williams because he was great with his legs, but he wasn't like Lamar, Jaden Daniels sensational, Josh Allen sensational with his legs. So if he's going to be this poor with the accuracy, he's got to make it up somewhere else, but the accuracy was too atrocious. But I thought there was positives from this game. First game with Ben Johnson, to go to sleep tonight and say, we can work with this. But there's still questions, and that's the problem, because I really got excited about this game. Like, can we just dead a lot of these questions? Because remember that article about the Caleb Williams that came out this week about his attitude, about what has he seen on film, and of course he just had all this talk throughout the offseason, that video of him, that infamous video of him missing on in practice drills. But I thought overall he played better than he did last season, but still a lot to go from.
Yeah, you're still building. He's still a young quarterback. We can't expect a world of a difference week one, but I noticed a difference. I think that's what's most important to me. That final play, whatever that play call was absolutely unreal from Ben Johnson. That fake toss, you got the slant in the back of the end zone, you got the defender in a bind, unreal. And the thing with Caleb is, like, there are points, pressure in his face, unleashes a cannon of a ball over the middle, direct shot right at DJ Moore. Obviously, it was a roughing the passer.
Throw. That was a
huge hit on DJ Moore, but that's a hell of a throw, right? And then he misses DJ Moore prior to that.
Yeah.
In a clear cover 2
Gotta
shot.
have that.
Right, right in that hole. So, like, it's ebbs and flows for Caleb, but the talent is evidently there, and that's the most important thing to me. I can see the arm talent, I can see the playmaking ability, and I think Ben Johnson can work with that. That was the first time I've heard that much life at Soldier Field in a very long time. The fans love it. They were eating it up, even on defense. But I do think we have to pay attention to the 12 penalties of 127 yards for the Bears. That's not going to cut it. It ruins your offensive flow when guys are going off sides. I think they had 3 or 4 offensive linemen go offside today. It's not going to cut it. And I guarantee you Ben Johnson's not having it. He's coming from a Detroit environment where that shit is cleaned up. Dan Campbell, he's on those guys about that. Control what you can control. And the Bears, they had it in their hand. They let it slip away tonight, and JJ took over. But I do want to touch on, right before you go here, Steven, Brian Flores tonight, because that second half performance, he was dialing up blitz here and there. The defense was moving in every which way. Pressure here, sacks here. It was unreal. He truly is the heart and soul of that Minnesota defense. He is such a valuable asset for Minnesota, and that's really what kept them in the game and what got JJ going, was the belief that the defense can. They're able to do it. They can stop any offense in the league, and they added all offseason long. Added to that defensive line. They're putting more pressure on the quarterback. I thought it was great.
Well, you're talking about the penalties. I mean, half of them just felt like false starts. How many times did Caleb Williams get into his cadence and he had like a guard just like flinch? There's still a lot to work with. You can tell with Ben Johnson's scheme and the cadence and all the motions for just the offensive line. I mean, that game was at home. I was on offensive line in the middle school, dude, and this is like peewee football. This is like no crowd. Everyone who plays football knows, dude, false starts at home are just unacceptable, and they had a litany of them. So I expect them to clean it up. But like you said, Brian Flores, it's arguably the best defensive coordinator in the league. And we saw that on display last season when Minnesota had an elite defense. And I thought he couldn't get any pressure in the first half. Caleb and Ben Johnson, that first couple drives, were just toying with him, taking him up down the field. But you saw in the second half, especially when Minnesota got all the momentum, Flores smelled blood. He started sending a bunch of defenders in Caleb's face, and it sped Caleb up. He wasn't making as accurate of throws as he was in the first half, and it kind of had him all over the place. But in the end, as great as Flores was in the second half, as great as McCarthy was in that fourth quarter, just a gamer with national championship DNA, as great as O'Connell was calling the game and sticking with his quarterback, the Bears should have killed the Vikings. The Bears should have killed them while they are on the ground. And when you knock a team down, it's just like boxing or UFC. I always say, like, when your opponent's on his ass, you got to swing. And you got to make sure he stays down. You know, in UFC, when their guy goes on the ground, they make sure they land a couple 5 punches as soon as, just to make sure he doesn't get up. And the Bears didn't do that. Like I said, they went punt, turnover on downs, or missed field goal for, like, the majority of the game. I mean, there was a point where, like, as much as the Vikings were struggling, if they didn't have the pick six, the Bears on their side, they would have been down a lot earlier in that game. They had 3 points after that opening touchdown for a long time. And I think the Bears had all the momentum. And you said Soldier Field was loud. It definitely got quiet in that fourth quarter. It just flipped on them. Caleb's got to be a lot better. That was Caleb's opportunity to just go kill the Vikings and just end it in that third quarter. But they didn't pull hard enough on the rope, and when the Vikings got on their feet, they just yanked it up out of them.
You need those divisional games too, right? Like, these are important games. But again, early on in the season, I think I like the talent that I saw from Caleb and obviously JJ. I think you've heard enough. Let's hop over to Sunday Night Football. Didn't get to touch on it yesterday as I did film in the afternoon because I was waiting, obviously, for this big-time episode, Steven, with you. We had another banger of a game on Sunday Night Football. Bills, Ravens. Bills 41, Ravens 40. Both quarterbacks played incredible. Derrick Henry, big night. Defenses looked like trash. We're going to get into it. As a Bills fan, I thought we were getting spanked. I'll take all the blame. I'm never betting against Josh Allen again, but I will say I am not happy with how this team looks because all we got is Josh Allen. We're a very average team all around. Defense does not look good. We don't really have anyone amazing on offense. Every player we got on offense is pretty much average. Keon Coleman had a big night, but again, it's nothing crazy. We really just got Josh Allen, and it really depends on that, which concerns me. But first, let's talk Ravens. From my opinion, the Ravens are unbeatable when they play their game. When the Ravens play mistake-free football, they're unbeatable. You cannot touch them. The offense is unstoppable. You got Derrick Henry running the rock. You got Lamar's rushing threat, and his arm has moved up into the top 10 category in the league. They can burn you on the ground, and the second you load the box, he is picking your pocket over the top, over the middle. Zay Flowers going for 100 yards. They destroyed the Buffalo Bills for 7/8 of Sunday Night Football. They walked over us. Our defense had no response to them. But the thing about the Ravens, they always shoot themselves in the foot. They do not control what they can control. They lose their grasp on the game because they make the errors. Let's look at the last few games that were notable for me. Last night, Derrick Henry fumbles the ball, momentum swings. Last year in the playoffs, 3 turnovers against the Bills, and they almost won the game. 2023 playoffs, 3 turnovers, Lamar interception and fumble, Lamar interception and fumble, Zay Flowers fumble, and it was a 1-score game in the conference championship against the Chiefs. This is what the Ravens do. They shoot themselves in the foot. They can't win big-time games because they turn over the ball and they make costly mistakes that are self-induced wounds. You can't have it. You have to be precise in these big-time games, and Josh Allen, like a pro, took over. What were your thoughts on the Ravens last night?
Well, like you said, the Ravens, when they're just playing at their best, they're unbeatable. But we said the same thing last year. I mean, as soon as we got a taste of Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, it took a little to get off the tracks. But when they're at their peaks, Derrick Henry at 32, whatever age years old, I mean, the guy's aging like fine wine. Then you got Lamar Jackson, you can't stop him. But like you said, they stop themselves. They shoot themselves in the foot with not being clutch, turning the ball over in bad spots, not getting the proper stop here. And it just seems like when they're just in that big game, something goes wrong. I don't know who to blame because I can't necessarily blame Lamar because, yeah, he had the 2 turnovers against Buffalo in the playoffs last year. But last night, the dude was sensational. Maybe it's Harbaugh. Maybe it's situational. Of course, it's the Henry fumble that also flipped the game upside down. But it just seems like in these big spots, these big games where it's like, the Ravens look like a freaking Super Bowl team. I mean, right now, if they're at their best, no one's better. I'm sorry, no one's better. You just can't guard that. It kind of gives me like Steph and KD vibes. Like, how can you stop that when both of those players are on the court? They can both drop 40. You got to double one, but you can't double the other. But just something happens when they're against Buffalo or against Kansas City where they just can't quite get it done. And it's infuriating if you're a Ravens fan because they've had this team that just looks like they can win a Super Bowl for the last 3 seasons. And that's just not encouraging last night. What a collapse.
Well, you want to talk about just destroying our defense. Like I already talked about it, but they had 30 less offensive snaps, 10 minutes less time of possession, and they scored 1 less point than us last night. Like, you want to talk about unstoppable, it's Lamar and Derrick Henry. You got arguably 2 MVP candidates. Not even arguably. You have 2 MVP candidates on offense. There is no way you can be giving up the game with the fumble like that. But with that being said, I love that you went there, Steven. I'm not blaming Derrick Henry for last night. There's one group, one person maybe you can argue that you blame last night, defensive coordinator and the Ravens defense. I just thought it was unbelievable. Baltimore's defense lost them the game last night. It's just unacceptable for such a talented unit. You got one job against Buffalo. Stop Josh Allen. Easier said than done for sure, but you got one man you got to control. That's it. Keon Coleman, I wouldn't be worried about. Shakir, he's a good number 2, but he's not everything in the world. James Cook, he's a solid back, but he's not a Derrick Henry. He's not a Barkley. He's not a CMC. You really got one job. You bring in Mike Green in the draft. You bring in Malachi Starks. You upgrade the secondary. Jair Alexander looked like burnt toast against our receivers. What happens when you go up against the Jamar Chase, an A.J. Brown, one of the top receivers in the league? I just don't understand it. It's unacceptable mistakes from a defense way too talented to have this happen to them. 41 points. I don't care what happened. The defense lost them the game. That's just unacceptable.
Well, they look really good on paper, especially coming in the season. You got, this new corner, Jair Alexander. Of course, you got Humphrey. Then you got the Notre Dame safety, Kyle Hamilton. Everyone loves. They look really good on paper. Last year, they started off pretty rough too. They couldn't stop a lick last year. Then they played better at the end of the season. I guess the problem with Baltimore, it just starts with the pass rush. I mean, they can't get a pass rush. No one can bring down Josh Allen. And then when you can't get a pass rush, it just exposes your secondary. And, yeah, they should have got stops. Maybe that's a Harbaugh thing. Maybe that's a defensive coordinator thing. I don't know. Or just like their talent's overrated. But you feel like Baltimore, especially when Baltimore for just my entire life has been more of a defensive team, they should have just they should have played better. But maybe it's also just Josh Allen just Superman. And maybe no defense in the United States was stopping Josh Allen last night. I mean, I don't know if the Chiefs in their best defense 2 years ago could even stop Josh Allen. The guy would just throw touchdowns on him. So, yeah, the Ravens defense should have played better, but I also like to feel like Josh Allen's just amazing, and I don't even think anyone in the country was stopping him last night.
Yeah, that's another great point, too. Josh Allen looked like the best player in the world against the Ravens. Better than Mahomes, better than Lamar, better than whoever you got up there. Because you look at Baltimore, and Lamar's got Derrick Henry. And I don't want to take away from Lamar's talent because he's got Derrick Henry. Like, I just find that's an unfair argument. But Josh Allen's really working with a whole lot of nothing. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Shakir, James Cook, Keon Coleman, they're all number 2 or number 3 options in Baltimore, in Philly, on all these better teams. I'm sorry, they just are. These better offenses, they are number 2 options. And my problem with Buffalo, although it was a miraculous win, believe me, I was pumped up. I'll never bet against Josh Allen again. The Buffalo Bills cannot win like this every week, but they have to. It's unsustainable. I just don't get it. Josh Allen shouldn't have to play Superman every single week of the regular season only to do it in the playoffs again. We expect Josh Allen to put up 41 points a week and make up for the defensive blunders. We refuse to tackle. We're scared to hit Derrick Henry last night. We're over pursuing. We can't cover for shit. Like, it was really bad. That Ravens offense trampled us. And Ed Oliver, yeah, he had a big game. I ain't going to lie. But for the majority of the time, our defense stunk last night. We were getting ripped apart. We cannot stop the Ravens. So the only way we beat them is through Josh Allen. And I hate that. Why can't we get someone elite, either on offense or defense, to do something? Because this is historically how the Buffalo Bills roll. I know we had Stephon Diggs at one point, but besides that, our defense always crumbles in the playoffs, and we always leave it up to Josh Allen. I'm listening to the commentators. Josh Allen with another great play. Josh Allen playing Superman again. I just don't get it. It's painful to watch. I love watching Josh Allen do what he does, but I don't care about the MVPs. I want a Super Bowl now. I know what he's capable of. He's the best quarterback right now in the NFL. At least last week he was. Obviously, I still got Pat at 1. But listen, it's just so painful as a Bills fan to watch us go through that and see our defense. Like, sure, Josh Allen was surgical. He ripped them apart every single drive down the field, but we really got nothing besides him.
Yeah, Buffalo feels like Metropolis, just waiting for Superman. Can you save me? Superman needs a Justice Gang alongside him. I mean, he needs like 1 or 2 just great players, especially on defense. How many big games does Buffalo play in the postseason in their defense? Sean McDermott's defense, by the way. just always let him down. And it's not that Buffalo offensively doesn't have good weapons, because they do. Keon Coleman, that was a little bit of a breakout game last night. Plus, James Cook is a good running back. He's a good running back. But you compare it to Baltimore and Philly, those guys got Saquon and Derrick Henry, who are just offensive hubs, Hall of Famers by themselves. If Saquon and Derrick Henry can just win games by themselves, and it's why I said Josh Allen was my MVP last year and why I haven't been my MVP this year, is because he doesn't have the luxury of just handing it off to someone who can just go for 200 yards and beat a Super Bowl contender kind of on his backs. No, if Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are going to beat a good team, a serious team, the guy's got to put the cape on. And I don't know, to your point, is that sustainable? At some point, if this team's going to get over the hump. Now, they had Stephon Diggs at one point, but their defense has let them down every single time. And you just feel like, is this sustainable if they're going to ever get over the hump? Can Josh Allen just have one more guy, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, who can just take over games? Because I like James Cook. He tied Derrick Henry for the most touchdowns in the league, but he barely cracked 100 yards. That's like the difference between – I was barely cracked 1,000 yards. Excuse me. It's the difference between him and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry can go take over a game, run for 2,200 yards just like that, whereas James Cook can't necessarily do that. So, yeah, man, I'm watching that Bills game last night. Dude, if Josh Allen wasn't arguably the greatest quarterback talent I've ever seen in my life, where are they?
You know what? Josh Allen threw 46 pass attempts yesterday. He was the leading rusher for our team. Without Josh Allen, we're not even cracking 500. Like, we don't even come close. It's honestly shocking to me. And again, that's a great point as to why I think he deserved the MVP last year. Obviously, Lamar had the statistical advantage, but you talk about a guy that does everything and more for not just his team, but his coaching staff, his franchise, his fan base. It's Josh Allen. He is the sole reason why Sean McDermott still has a job. And I'm not a McDermott guy. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a McDermott guy as a Bills fan because I want some help. I want a Super Bowl. It's been too much losing for this franchise. Historically, the past few years against the Chiefs, we need a change. Let's hop over to Rams, Texans, Steven. Game I didn't get to cover yesterday, but I did look at some stats, rewatched the game, checked a few things out, wanted to talk about C.J. Stroud and Matthew Stafford's performance. Let's kick it off with C.J. Stroud and more detailed, the Houston offensive line, because I talked about it all year long. I was stunned that they didn't do anything to fix it. Houston's offensive line is horrendous. People were telling me, oh, they got a new OC, C.J. Stroud. He can move the O-line around now. He's got control of the offense. Hell no. It looked horrendous. It blows my mind, their ability to neglect the offensive line year after year, and they don't want to protect C.J. Stroud. They got a great defense. They got good weapons. They got a good quarterback. They don't want to give him protection. This team refuses to protect their franchise quarterback, and I just don't get it. They're very undisciplined. Again, this year, a very undisciplined team. Fifth in total penalties last year. 11 penalties against the Rams week 1. Their defense, Steven, elite unit. They gave the Rams a real tough time putting pressure on the quarterback. Secondary is really good. You got Stingley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a bunch of dogs back there. But again, the protection is bad. You trade away Laramie Tunsil, who was your most talented offensive lineman last year. What are you doing? Like, CJ's career is going to the garbage. And of course, there's an argument you can make. CJ might have to step up at some point. If we're going to consider him a top 10 quarterback in the league, you got the defense, you got some weapons. You got to make things happen once in a while, for sure. And they're benefiting from a terrible division. But there is a glaring weakness on this team, and it's the O-line, and it's shocking that it hasn't been addressed.
So I'm a CJ Stroud owner in Dynasty. I took him in the first round following his rookie campaign, where I believe he had the most passing touchdowns in history for a rookie in a single season. Since then, something's been wrong with this offense. They started blaming Bobby Slowick. Now they got a new offensive coordinator. Doesn't look like much the same. There's a lot wrong, and I don't think it has really anything to do with C.J. Stroud. Maybe C.J. Stroud's sack avoidance isn't all that great, and that would probably help if he just got better in that area. But like you said, their offensive line's terrible. It might be the worst unit in the league. And then on top of that, you in the offseason, you trade away maybe their only good offensive lineman, Larry Tunsil. I mean, what are you doing? And then Tank Dell's out. You let Stephon Diggs go. You only have Nico Collins. Who else do you have? They can't run the football, especially with Joe Mixon on the injury list to start the season. 9 points. Listen, Rams defense, as young as they are, that's a hell of a defense. That's a hell of a defense. But 9 points, JV, come on. Like, that's brutal. I know it's week 1,
Yeah.
but oh my, how do you only get 9 points? Something's wrong with Houston's offense, and it has to be just play calling and just pure talent around C.J. Stroud. Because I don't think this is an indictment on Stroud at all. I think Stroud, you just give him the protection, one more weapon. He's a top 10 quarterback in this league easily.
You know what? And I'm thinking, I look at the score, obviously, first. Didn't cover the game yesterday, rewatched it today. And I'm like, they put up 9 points. Like, could it be possible? Could it be possible that C.J. Stroud might not be everything we think? And I'm going back and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's a little bit of the problem with the offensive line, but he's making throws all over the field. And I'm thinking back to the playoff games I've watched from him. He's an ice-cold assassin in the playoffs. He's a dog in the playoffs. He shows up. So I'm like, listen, as much as C.J. Stroud might not look the best at moments, he's still got that top 10 potential. He was one of my top 10 quarterbacks last year. It's the new year, but it's the same old damn stuff from the Houston Texans. And then you got C.J. Stroud calling out his team for being lazy in practice. Or whatever the word, lollygagging, whatever it was. Like, I was just like, this is a disaster. If they played in a half-competent division, man, they'd be cleaned out. They're not making the playoffs. And nothing's changing. That's what's most shocking to me. And then on the other side of the ball, you got Matthew Stafford, who's just an absolute dog, man. Matthew Stafford is surgical. Everything he does, it turns into gold, man. He's limited to the pocket, I won't lie to you, but he still has a top 5 arm in the NFL. On the roll, standing in the pocket, he can hit any area on the field. His arm has great range. It's unlimited, great accuracy, and he's ice cold when it matters. He's got ice in his veins in the big moments, in the playoffs. Besides Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, I probably got Stafford up there as one of the best playoff performers in the league right now. Him and Puka Nacua, that feeds families in L.A. And just wait until Devontae Adams shows up big time. They're going to be hard to beat. They're going to be a Super Bowl contender. They're going to give Philly a run for their money in the playoffs. So this Rams team, I know they put up 14 points. This is a good Texans team. And when you watch Matthew Stafford play at his best, because I got a glimpse of that last year when I watched the Bills game when he destroyed us with Cooper Kupp and Puka, I was like, yeah, this guy's still playing at an elite level. At age what? 37, 38?
37,
Yeah.
Stafford's at 37. He's still got it, man. Not many people on this planet can throw a better football than him. And there's not many coach quarterback combinations better than Stafford and McVay. My thing with the Rams, though, is, a lot of people think they're Super Bowl contenders. I honestly think they're right outside on the bubble, right? Because to me, they just don't dominate as hard to be a Super Bowl contender. When I think about a Super Bowl contender, I think about Bills, Ravens, Eagles. Those teams just dominate. Chiefs are like a rare exception where it lasts like 3 years. They're not dominating, but no one's just better in the clutch than Patrick Mahomes. With them, their defense, as young as they are, it's becoming one of the better units in this league. They got some young dogs on that side. And just the IQ from Puka, McVay, and Stafford's great. And they're a tough out when they play an Eagles or a Lions. But they've won 10 games back-to-back seasons. Now, part of it's because they limped into these seasons, and then it's always like if they just get in, anything can happen. I think they're a dark horse contender. I think some people are kind of overhyping it. I think they have just a little too good of PR to where people put them in that contenders list. I think they're right outside in anything can happen contenders list, but not a true contender. But, I'll give them a couple more games to get Devontae Adams in check, and then, they'll get the run game going better with Kyron Williams, and he'll have more pop, and they'll put up more points than 14, because 14 is not a whole lot at home. It's against a great defense, but it's not a whole lot. But, yeah, they're going to be a tough out. Like, if you're Philly, just like last season, or let's just say Green Bay, and you got them in the divisional, you're going to beat them. I would take Philly and the Packers in that game, but that's a tough, 24-21. We just got to get away from this Rams team quick, and then we're good.
Yeah, it is more times than not of limping to the playoffs because you got an older quarterback that's always dealing with issues, right? But we know he's a gritty guy. He fights through adversity. He battles injuries. Doesn't matter. But the second they get to the playoffs, that switch flips. And, it must be amazing for a genius in Sean McVay to have trust in a veteran quarterback like Stafford to run the offense. Imagine the pressure that alleviates from a guy who's already at the top of his game, at the top of the head coaching game in Sean McVay. So the second he arrived there, and I've talked about the comparison with Goff, McVay saw Goff as his starting quarterback and was like, we got to make a change. There's levels to greatness here. We had Goff. He could run our offense. Now we got Stafford, and he's a game changer with his arm. Back corner, corners, touchdown, left, right. He can really do it all. So, you know what? I don't mind that, Steven. There are points you watch the Rams, and you're like, I don't know how good they can really be. I don't know if they can contend for a Super Bowl, but you never know with Stafford in the playoffs, man. He really turns it on, and his arm is just... It's top 3 in the NFL, man. Like, you got Burrow up there. You got a lot of arms you can compare it to, but the way he's slinging it at 37 is just unreal. And then you want to draw a comparison to maybe a little bit of an older quarterback right now, Aaron Rodgers. He had a phenomenal week 1. And you know what? I'll admit it. Was not expecting this. Said he was washed. I'll take all the blame again. I was talking earlier on in the offseason about him. Watched his film from last year. Did not look great. Granted, the Jets weren't a very good team. Rodgers was unreal week 1. But is it sustainable? I'm not willing to immediately hop on the hype train because what I saw was a great game, but we have 16 more games of football to go if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Classic play action, back to the basics for Rodgers, rolling out, dumping it off, hitting easy completions, surgical in the red zone, touchdowns left and right. He was really good. He looked under control, comfortable, poised, a new Aaron Rodgers that we haven't seen since his MVP season. Steelers fans are telling me they're back, that Aaron Rodgers is back. He's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. I still have severe concerns about their run game. I'm not sure about their offensive line, and their defense just had Justin Fields and the Jets put up 32 points on them. That's a Mike Tomlin defense that is supposed to be at the top of their game. At the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers had a really great day, but I just don't know if it's sustainable. When you go up against a better defense, with a corner that locks down your DK Metcalf, with a number 2 that can play with your number 2 option, what are you going to do? Are you going to look as good, Steven?
Well, that's why they go trade for Tyreek Hill. At least that's what the reports are saying. But, I mean, DK had to go up against Sauce last week, and he did okay. Is it sustainable? I don't know. He is 41, and we get to, week 8, and the wheels just fall off. He just gets slower, and we don't know what's going on. But at least, I never thought Rodgers was washed. I mean, if you say washed relative to MVP Rodgers, sure. But I said he still had one good last season left. I said months ago, Steelers got to be pounding on the table for Aaron Rodgers. This guy was top 10 in yards and touchdowns last year. Even on the inconsistent, weird Jets. You put him in Pittsburgh, a more stable organization. Arthur Smith drew up a great game plan. Now, remember when Russell Wilson took over that first 4 to 6 games? They played below 500 teams. Russell Wilson was just lighting up teams. Steelers
he was playing Hall of
20
Fame
30
ball.
points a game. They looked unbelievable. And then they started playing real teams in the back half of that schedule, and they completely fell off. They couldn't score more. They didn't score more than 20 points at all. And they went They lost their last 5 to 6 games. That could very well be on the table for Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it is too early to call whether this is, whether the Steelers are going to win a playoff game, whether this is what the reality is going to be for Rodgers. I think we just got to wait and see because the wheels could fall off at any time. But I like Rodgers. I thought he was better than Russell Wilson. I thought he was better, albeit Fields had a great game yesterday. Thought he was better than Fields. So I think this is an upgrade for them. Now, it depends what they go do because they went all in. I mean, you trade Minka for a Jalen Ramsey plus a Jonnu. You get DK Metcalf. I'm seeing a report today that there's a possibility of Tyreek Hill, we can get to that later, adding him to that squad. I don't know. Is it sustainable? Probably not. But we'll see.
Man, you're just running the episode for me. This is incredible. We're going to get to Tyreek Hill in a second, but I was just searching up over here because I remember watching the Steelers. I mean, they are so notorious for after Thanksgiving just sucking, for lack of a better term. Like, they just stink after Thanksgiving. Philly, they got pumped 27-13. Ravens 34-17. Christmas Day was the first time I was like, they're in oh shit mode. 29-10 against the Chiefs. Yeah. And the Chiefs last year, you know how many one-score games they were in, Steven. They pummeled the Steelers.
I think that was the only double-digit win they had all year.
I know. And they, matter of fact, Mahomes rediscovered the deep ball in that game. That's how you knew it was bad. And then the Bengals to end off the season. And then the Ravens. I mean, it wasn't close in the playoffs. So this is the Steelers, right? I bought in last year with Russ. I thought they looked incredible, and they fell off. I am not jumping the gun until I see something different come playoff time, because we know what Mike Tomlin is about in the playoffs, and his defenses really just don't show up as of recent in the playoffs. The last thing we had on our agenda, feeding right into our next topic, Tyreek Hill. Obviously not happy in Miami. He hasn't been for a while, and I'll spare the people the details because they've heard about it all week from me and other people. The Dolphins stink. They suck. McDaniel, terrible. Tua, terrible this week. Failed project. Everything's done. Tyreek Hill still has a lot of talent. He's still got some gas in the tank. Where do you think Tyreek's ending up, Steve?
There's not many options because, well, first of all, is Miami even going to consider trading Tyreek Hill? Because Schefter said on Pat McAfee this morning that Miami's not even thinking about it. So I don't know what direction. Maybe we'll go like 5 weeks in the season. Miami's like winless, and they're like, okay, we got to get some picks here. So who knows? So first of all, Miami could just straight up not trade him. But how many teams would pay for a Tyreek Hill at this point? I really think it comes down to Kansas City, man, really. Or Pittsburgh. That's what some people are saying. Or Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's already gone all in. They could potentially get a wide receiver, too, next to Metcalf and try to go win their first playoff game since the Obama administration. But I'd say Kansas City looks the most likely. They've been targeting Kansas City for the last year now. But Rice is out for 5 more games. Worthy, we don't know his update. Everyone else behind them's a joke. Kelce's washed. 1 more or 2 years of Tyreek Hill. How much years he has left on his contract? 1 or 2? You get Tyreek in that system, deep ball's back. You're just more explosive. That offense can score more points. It seems like if Miami does decide to trade Tyreek, that would be the more realistic option, unless your team gets involved and just says, Keon Coleman, you're X, but let's push you to the side for a second. Shakir, we love you. But in comes Tyreek Hill. Wouldn't that just shake up the AFC? I don't know what Miami would ever ask. Hopefully these reports come out in the next 2 weeks. I don't know what Miami would ask for want for Tyreek, but wouldn't that just shake up the AFC if Josh Allen gets Tyreek Hill for a postseason?
You know, knowing us, we would never do it. We just don't like to make big game-changing moves beside the Stephon Diggs move, obviously. But it would be great. And, you know, Miami is a team that I think is stupid enough to do it in division. And
yeah, it is in their own division. I'm thinking about it.
But to be honest with you, like, what does it matter if you're Miami? Like, Tyreek Hill, he's got the juice for, like, let's say 3 or 4 more years max, right? Like, true offensive production. You're not going to be good for another few years. So, like, you're fine. You're fine. If you get pumped by Tyreek and Josh Allen for a few games per year over the next 3 years, who cares, right? But I just don't think that we have the confidence and balls to do it. I would have loved to see us go get Micah Parsons. Yeah. That would have been incredible.
Boy, would you have loved to have Micah Parsons.
That is a game-changing move, and that's a need of ours because I've said over and over, as much as I can complain about the offense and the lack of talent, Josh Allen's going to put up 30 points in the playoffs. Like, that's not our problem. Our problem is our defense in the playoffs. But the team I think Tyreek's going to is absolutely the Chiefs. Brett Veach should call Tyreek Hill tomorrow and set things up as soon as possible. Tyreek Hill in Kansas City tomorrow with Patrick Mahomes would feed families. He would easily go for 1,200 yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns this season. Mahomes would rediscover the deep ball, and they would immediately move up the ranks as the top threat in the AFC. Because Mahomes as Superman can't do it himself anymore. He played a fantastic game against the Chargers. He really did. He was really solid. But he just doesn't have the weapons. He's had no consistency at wide receiver. Every time a receiver breaks out, whether it's Worthy or Rice or Hollywood Brown, which we're still waiting on with the Chiefs, they're always injured. Worthy's out now. Rashee Rice is out now. There's no consistency. He's throwing to third, fourth, fifth stringers he has no reps with. So if you go out and get Tyreek Hill, the last time he was in Kansas City in 2021, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns on 159 targets. And Mahomes is in desperation mode. What I saw against the Chargers, that was the worst I've seen the Chiefs look for a while. They didn't look too good. I'm going to be honest with you. The Chargers controlled that game. And Mahomes can't play Superman no longer.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of other teams. I don't know. In the AFC, NFC, obviously the Eagles are good. San Francisco, I mean, they got a lot of hospital guys in San Francisco. Maybe they go make a call. But I don't know if San Francisco quite has the capital. I got to think about what resources they got. But they got Jennings in the tent. Kittle's got a hamstring. Yeah. They got Pearsall, looked like a stud yesterday.
Man. You know what? Like, if the Chiefs did go out and get Tyreek Hill, whether or not it's with Rashee Rice when he's healthy, like, are you moving them up to number 1 in the AFC?
I mean, the thing is, like, even if they didn't trade for Tyreek Hill, they'll always be my AFC number 1. And
right.
So they're like Brady's Patriots.
Uh-huh.
Like, Mahomes could have car salesmen at wide receiver. As long as they have Mahomes and Reed, I just can't. Until someone beats them, I just can't. They're going to be my number 1. But, yeah, I mean, the day they traded Tyreek Hill, Mahomes was fine in 22. I mean, he won the freaking MVP. But the deep ball and their depth of target and their offensive explosiveness, just a steady decline. Their schedule, I don't know if you've seen it the first 6 games, but, man, if they don't have Worthy for an extended period of time, Rice obviously has got 5 more games at least of a suspension. Kelsey, I don't know how much he has left. I don't know how they're going to get past these next 6 weeks. And maybe you just call up Tyreek Hill and you're like, bro, just 1 year. Like, let's just do this. We need to get back to the Super Bowl. That's their goal every year. But we need to win these games. We need to go to Philadelphia and get this W. And let's bring back the deep ball and Mahomes can go win MVP. But trying to think of other teams, I think San Francisco is really interesting. It just depends if they would ever make that move. But other than that, like maybe Denver, get Bo Nix another weapon. Who knows?
Yeah, I would love all of them. It's just I just don't see it happening. Like the perfect fit for me is Kansas City. Knows the system, knows the quarterback, reunites, and they're automatically a Super Bowl team. Like it just makes the most sense for me. And like you said, the first few weeks now, no Rashee Rice. I haven't looked at Xavier Worthy's timeline, but he got injured early on last game. So you're in desperation mode. You need to get these wins. To start the season 0-2 and to go down against the Eagles, your Super Bowl matchup, and get spanked again, that's not good news if that happens. And obviously the Chiefs can carve it out. They can make things happen. I'm not worried about that. But it's a matter of, do you want to push for a Super Bowl this year or not? When you get Rashee Rice back, I'm sure that offense is going to be flying. But without him, I just don't know what it looks like. That's a wrap on tonight's episode. This is JV. This is Steven. Steven, I appreciate you joining. Can you plug yourself and your channel?
Yes, sir. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram as Some Casual Takes, but Twitter, it's at StevenPepper38. That's where you can catch me.
Yeah, you ain't that much of a casual, dude. Like you come on here, you talk ball.
That's what everyone says, but like honestly, bro, I am. I am. I'll never claim to be an expert. I'd like to say this is from a casual's point of view who sits on that couch for about 9 hours on Sundays and just watches, and I just give you a casual point of view. Although I know more ball than I might give myself credit for, I wouldn't say I'm like this expert. No. If I was like next to like someone who just from like PFF or something, who dude just has all the numbers, or a former player who can go on a whiteboard and do the X's and O's and show me what a flat route is, I would get boat raced. Then I would look like a casual.
And I'm looking at your page, and I see LeBron with the Twins hat on, and I'm like, this guy's spitting ball knowledge. Or the Reds hat. Yeah, I'm not a baseball fan, but like I'm like, this guy's spitting ball knowledge. Some casual takes, just some random pick of LeBron. But I appreciate it, man. This is awesome. Hopefully get you on later in the season.
Yes,
For
sir,
everyone who joined, watch to the end, go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, do your thing. And as always, catch you in the next episode. Peace out.